It's Dramatic Listening, the podcast where you learn English by listening to radio plays. I'm your host and teacher, Wendy Lambert.
Well, welcome back to Dramatic Listening. This is episode 91, and it's the third episode of Ticket to Tangier, a Harry Lime radio play, and I'm calling this one How to Date a Woman When You're Broke. As usual, this story is serialized on Dramatic Listening, so altogether there will be 7 episodes making up the whole story. This story started with episode 89, so if you haven't listened to that one yet, you really should go back and listen to it first. Dramatic listening is edutainment. That's a combination of education and entertainment. It's all part of helping you keep up your momentum in your English studies. By making learning fun and giving you something entertaining to listen to, I hope to keep you interested and motivated. The podcast is now one part of my larger ESL site called English Momentum. I hope you drop by EnglishMomentum.com to check out the site, but also to get the free PDF that comes with each episode of this podcast. Just register and log in. Registration is free. As a logged-in member, you can download the free PDF. In it, you'll find the vocabulary and the transcript for the podcast episode to help you learn the words and read along. There's a new PDF with each episode, so I really encourage you to head on over to EnglishMomentum.com and become a member today. As I said, today we're listening to the third part of Ticket to Tangier, an old-time radio play from The Lives of Harry Lime that was first aired in 1951. You'll remember from our last episode that Harry Lime followed a clue he found in the newspaper personal ads. He whistled a tune for a doorman at a certain hotel, and in response, the doorman gave Harry an envelope. Inside was an airplane ticket and some money. Harry was whisked off by limousine to the airport and flown to Tangier, Morocco. By the time they touched down, he had arranged a date with the airline hostess. In today's episode, Harry treats his new lady friend, the airline hostess, to dinner and dancing at the Cabala cabaret, or nightclub. He learns her name is Patsy, but he believes it is an alias, not her real name. When he goes to leave, he finds out he wasn't the one treating. She paid the check. She tries to convince him that she can afford it, but he can't believe it. I think he also feels that it's not right for a woman to pay. Harry is a male chauvinist. We'll listen to Act 2, Scene 1 shortly, but first we have 15 key words to learn. And remember, these words are all posted on Quizlet. So if you're a Chinese speaker, you could learn these words with English-Chinese flashcards and games at www.englishmomentum.com/Quizlet. And now for the key words. I'll be giving you the word, the meaning, and a model sentence for each one. Our first word is rumba. Rumba is a type of dance from Cuba. It's like a love story with the dancers flirting with one another. In Chinese, we would just say lunba or lunba wu. Model sentence. Some dog trainers teach their chihuahuas to dance the rumba wearing little dresses. Rumba. Word number 2 is a phrase, too good to be true. This means something is unbelievably good. 简直好的叫人难以相信. It may sound too good to be true, but I just won the lottery. Too good to be true. Word number 3, cockpit. Cockpit is a noun, and it's the room at the front of the airplane where the pilot and the co-pilot sit. 驾驶舱 or 机舱. After 9/11, the cockpits on airplanes were made off limits to passengers. Cockpit. Word number 4, settle. In fact, settle for something. So settle is a verb. If you settle for something, it means you end a negotiation or an argument by reaching an agreement. In Chinese, 将个一球 or 妥协. You should settle for a C if your son studies hard but cannot meet your high standards. Settle for it. Be happy with that. Settle. Word number 5, champagne. Champagne is a noun, and this is a bubbly French white wine that people drink on very special occasions. In Chinese, 香槟 or 香槟酒. Champagne. We pronounce it as a sh, sh sound, but it starts with a ch. Champagne. Word number 6, close. Close. This is an adjective, and it not only means that somebody or something can be close to you, but the air can feel really close. And that means it's humid, it's hot and sticky. It's a very uncomfortable kind of atmosphere. 闷 in Chinese. Open the window, let some fresh air in to get rid of this close air. Close. Word number 7, check. Check has many meanings, but here in this story, it's a noun and it's a small piece of paper showing the amount of money that you owe. So it's another word for a bill. 账单. He was in a hurry to leave, so he asked the waitress for the check. Check. Word number 8, party. A party doesn't necessarily mean an event. It can also refer to a person or a group of people that are participating in something together. So in this meaning, Chinese would be ifang or ituan or ichun. We will need a large table to dine at, as there are 6 people in our party. Party. Word number 9 is a 2-word verb, take back. So if you take something back, it can mean that you correct something that was spoken. So if you misspoke, you made a mistake, and you think about it later and you say, oh, I take it back. 收回. Once you speak, you can never take it back. We can try to take it back, but people still remember what we said. Take something back. Word number 10, fit. This is a verb, and it means to suit or to harmonize. 适合. Your new hairstyle really fits the shape of your face. It really suits you. Fit. Word number 11, apply. Apply. Several meanings, once again, for this word, but here it's a verb and it means to have relevance. For example, this rule only applies to freshmen. So if you're a freshman, you're in your first year of university, this rule is for you. But if you're studying in your second, third, or fourth year, then you don't have to worry about this rule because it only applies to freshmen. Apply. It has relevance for freshmen. This new pay scale won't affect you. It will only apply to all new employees. Apply. Word number 12 is a phrase, work for a living. If you work for a living, it means you earn enough money on a job to pay for your housing, your food, your clothes, etc. 做活 or 谋生 in Chinese. Some independently wealthy people do not have to work for a living. Work for a living. Word number 13, grimy. Grimy is an adjective and it means dirty, covered in dirt, unpleasant or filthy. In Chinese, we could say 脏兮兮 or 污秽. Tell your son to get his grimy hands off my clean white tablecloth. Grimy. Word number 14, character. Character. Again, this word has a few different meanings, but here we're using it as a noun and it means a person or an individual. In Chinese, we could say 家伙. Old Man McCarthy is quite the character, well known around town for all his tall tales. So this old guy likes telling stories that are a little bit hard to believe. That makes him a character, a unique individual. Word number 15, and our last one, is night shift. Night shift. If you go to work for a scheduled period of time, that time period is called your shift. So you might have day shift or night shift, maybe even afternoon shift or evening shift, depending on when you go into work. So this is a scheduled work period. It's usually 8, maybe up to 12 hours long, and it goes through the night. So 夜班 or 晚班, night shift. The only thing worse than working the afternoon shift is working the night shift. Night shift. Well, that's it for our key words. Let's listen now to Ticket to Tangier, Act 2, Scene 1. This part of the play is about 3 minutes long.
Something.
What?
You're one of the few girls outside of Havana I ever danced with who knows anything at all about the rumba.
I learned it in Havana.
That almost explains it.
What do you mean, almost?
Okay, you learned to dance in Havana, and so do lots of other people. Okay, you're a hostess on an airline. You're very good looking, and there are lots of good looking hostesses that dance the rumba, but they don't dance that well. There are none of them that this beautiful. No, I don't know what I mean by almost, but really, you know, you're almost too good to be true.
No, I'm not so good.
That's good.
You don't even know my name.
Yes, I do. I have a sign on the door of the cockpit, the plane that says Captain T.R. Stevenson, co-pilot J. O'Brady, air hostess P. Smith. So that's your name, isn't it? P. Smith. May I call you P?
P is for Patsy.
Okay, we'll settle for that. Shall we sit down? That champagne ought to be cold enough by now.
It's awfully close in here. Why don't we forget the champagne and take a walk outside?
Oh, wonderful. I'll just pay the check.
Don't bother. It's been taken care of.
What do you mean?
The check has been paid.
Now, look here, old girl. We can't have that. You're my guest, remember. Besides, I'm the male in the party, and I have my pride.
I'm sorry, Harry. It's all taken care of. Come on.
Good night, mademoiselle.
Good night.
Good night, monsieur.
Good night. Good night. Patsy, I'm going to take something back.
What's that, Harry?
One little word.
What's the word?
Almost.
I don't understand you.
Well, I used it describing you, but it doesn't fit. The word almost could never be applied to you. Whatever you are, that's what you are completely. You couldn't be almost anything.
You're wrong, Harry. Almost is just the word for me. Among other things, I'm almost very rich.
You must be if you treat all your boyfriends to champagne.
You're a special case.
We won't argue about that, Patsy. I'm a special case, but what's an airline hostess get paid? Enough to treat her boyfriends to champagne, even the special cases like me? No, Patsy, it doesn't make sense. You say you're rich.
I said I'm almost rich.
Well, then you must be almost stupid.
What do you mean?
Well, if I was almost rich, I wouldn't be working for my living at all. I wouldn't be found on an airplane unless I wanted to get someplace.
I said I was almost rich, Harry, and that's what I meant. That doesn't mean I've little money or enough money. It means I have to work for my living. I took this job to pay the rent and also because it brings me twice a week to Tangier.
And what do you like about Tangier? A lot of international lawyers and private banks with streets full of American cars and grimy characters in nightshirts. Not very beautiful. As far as I can see, it's a kind of Switzerland with Arabs.
No, but it is beautiful, Harry, if you know the right places. Let me show you.
All right.
Taxi! You know the Villa Muggetti?
The Villa Muggetti? Ah, yes, mademoiselle. Mademoiselle means the great palace on the hill. I know it well.
Good. Get in, Harry. I'm going to show you how beautiful Tangier can be.
And now it's time for the walkthrough. Harry's instructions told him to go to the Cabala cabaret when he got to Tangier. So he found a date, the airline hostess. And at the Cabala, they're dancing the rumba. The rumba is a type of dance from Cuba, and it's a very intense dance where the two dancers are acting as if they're flirting with one another in a love story. So it has a storyline to it. It has a time where they're getting to know each other and where they're getting closer to each other and where there's a problem and they pull away from each other and have to resolve it at the climax and finish the dance once again in each other's arms. So that's the rumba, or in Chinese, the lunba. And he's quite impressed with her dancing. He says, "You're one of the few girls outside of Havana." Havana is a city in Cuba I've ever danced with who knows anything at all about the rumba. And what Harry's getting at is that he doesn't think she's just a hostess. He says, "You're too good to be true. You're unbelievably good. Most hostesses aren't like you." She says she learned to dance in Havana, and he says, well, that almost explains it, but he's still very suspicious that she's not really telling him who she is. Harry doesn't really know her name, but he knows it starts with the letter P. He saw her name, P. Smith, on the cockpit door. The cockpit is that room at the front of the airplane where the pilot and the co-pilot are sitting. So since he knows that much, Patsy, the hostess, tells him that P is for Patsy. P stands for Patsy. That's my name. And he says, okay, we'll settle for that. We've tried to negotiate. I've tried to find out your real name. At least you've given me a name. I don't have to call you P. So he says, okay, good enough. we'll settle for that. That's the end of our negotiation. 妥协 in Chinese. So Harry suggests that they have a drink of that bubbly white wine called champagne. 香槟. It's cold, it's been sitting in a bucket of ice, and it's ready to drink. But Patsy has another idea. She says, the air is really close in here. Man, it's sticky, it's hot, it's humid. Why don't we go out for a walk instead? And Harry agrees, but he says, I've got to pay the check first. And at this point, he finds out that the check, Zhangdan, that small piece of paper showing how much their meal cost, has already been paid. Harry doesn't really like that. After all, he's the man, and the man should pay. So from this, we see that in their party of two people together, he's the one who feels he should pay. It's tradition. So Harry's not into feminism. He's quite a male chauvinist, but he does know how to treat a lady right. And he says, I have my pride. The man should pay. But sorry, it's all been done for you, Harry. It's paid for this time. So they leave. The waiter says goodbye to them. And Harry says, you know, I'm going to take something back. I said something, I was wrong, and I take it back. I'm apologizing. What do you want to take back, Harry? He says that one little word, almost. I used it to describe you, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't really suit you. That word almost could never be applied to you. It has no relationship to you. It's not relevant when we're talking about you to use the word almost. I shouldn't have done that. It doesn't apply to you. 不能适用这个字. He says, that's what you are completely. Not almost, not 80%, 90%, but 100%. You couldn't be anything else. You are too good to be true. She says, you're wrong, Harry. Almost does suit me. I'm almost rich. And he says, well, it seems like you're rich. You take your boyfriend out for dinner. If you do that with all the guys, then you must be rich. You treat him to champagne and dancing. And she says, no, you're a special case. I don't do that for all the men. Well, Harry likes being seen as a special case, but he still doesn't quite believe that she can afford this if she's just an airline hostess. He asks her, well, how much does an airline hostess make? And she said, I'm almost rich. And he says, then you must be almost stupid. Because if you're almost rich, you wouldn't be working for a living. You'd be enjoying your wealth. You'd be investing. You'd be making more money that way. You wouldn't have to work so hard. But she hangs on to what she said. She says, I'm almost rich, Harry, and that's what I meant. It doesn't mean I have little money or enough money. It means I have to work for my living, but this job does pay the rent, and I'm doing fine. And it brings her to Tangier twice a week. So twice a week she flies on a plane to Tangier, and she likes that part of her job. So Harry asks her, well, what do you like about Tangier? He says, I see a lot of international lawyers and private banks, streets full of American cars, and grimy characters on night shift. So why does Tangier look like this? Well, it's a very special place. You don't have to have residency here or give up your residency anywhere else. You don't have to pay taxes if you're a foreigner. So you can come to Tangier. You can put your money in a bank account, kind of like a Swiss bank account, and nobody's going to know about it. Your own government isn't going to know about it to tax you on it. So it's a very good place to do things with money, especially if you're doing things that are somewhat illegal. So that's why he sees some grimy characters around. Grimy meaning dirty, but perhaps dirty in the way that they're not honest. They're not good, straight, clean people. So he says some grimy characters on night shift. 脏兮兮的家伙, and they're working night shift. They're out at night because that's when a lot of evil deeds are done or bad dealings. It's not very beautiful, he says. As far as I can see, it's kind of Switzerland with the Arabs. So here we have this country in northern Africa that's behaving a lot like Switzerland for the more dishonest people. And Patsy says, no, but it is beautiful, Harry. So she disagrees with him. No, but it is beautiful, if you know the right places. So she wants to show him around. She calls a taxi and asks him to take her to the Villa Maghetti. He knows that that is a palace on the hill. So off they go in the taxi. Well, that's the end of our walkthrough. So let's listen again to Act 2, Scene 1, and review what you've just learned.
You know something?
What?
You're one of the few girls outside of Havana I ever danced with who knows anything at all about the rumba.
I learned it in Havana.
That almost explains it.
What do you mean, almost?
Okay, you learned to dance in Havana, and so do lots of other people. Okay, you're a hostess on an airline. You're very good-looking, and there are lots of good-looking hostesses that dance the rumba, but they don't dance that well. And none of them are this beautiful. No, I don't know what I mean by almost, but really, you know, you're almost too good to be true.
No, I'm not so good.
That's good.
You don't even know my name.
Yes, I do. I have a sign on the door of the cockpit, the plane that says Captain T.R. Stevenson, co-pilot J. O'Brady, air hostess P. Smith. So that's your name, isn't it? P. Smith. May I call you P?
P is for Patsy.
Okay, we'll settle for that. Shall we sit down? That champagne ought to be cold enough by now.
It's awfully close in here. Why don't we forget the champagne and take a walk outside?
Oh, wonderful. I'll just pay the check.
Don't bother. It's been taken care of.
What do you mean?
The check has been paid.
Now, look here, old girl. We can't have that. You're my guest, remember. Besides, I'm the male in the party, and I have my pride.
I'm sorry, Harry. It's all taken care of. Come on.
Good night, mademoiselle.
Good night.
Good night, monsieur.
Good night. Good night. Patsy, I'm going to take something back.
What's that, Harry?
One little word.
What's the word?
Almost.
I don't understand you.
Well, I used it describing you, but it doesn't fit. The word almost could never be applied to you. Whatever you are, that's what you are completely. You couldn't be almost anything.
You're wrong, Harry. Almost is just the word for me. Among other things, I'm almost very rich.
You must be if you treat all your boyfriends to champagne.
You're a special case.
We won't argue about that, Patsy. I'm a special case, but what's an airline hostess get paid? Enough to treat her boyfriends to champagne, even the special cases like me? No, Patsy, it doesn't make sense. You say you're rich.
I said I'm almost rich.
Well, then you must be almost stupid.
What do you mean?
Well, if I was almost rich, I wouldn't be working for my living at all. I wouldn't be found on an airplane unless I wanted to get someplace.
I said I was almost rich, Harry, and that's what I meant. That doesn't mean I've little money or enough money. It means I have to work for my living. I took this job to pay the rent and also because it brings me twice a week to Tangier.
And what do you like about Tangier? A lot of international lawyers and private banks with streets full of American cars and grimy characters in night shirts. Not very beautiful. As far as I can see, it's a kind of Switzerland with Arabs.
No, but it is beautiful, Harry, if you know the right places. Let me show you. Taxi! You know the Villa Muggetti?
The Villa Muggetti? Ah, yes, mademoiselle. Mademoiselle means the great palace on the hill. I know it well.
Good. Get in, Harry. I'm going to show you how beautiful Tangier can be.
Let's talk. So Harry appears to be a male chauvinist. That means he treats women well, ladies first and the man should pay, but it also means he has certain attitudes about men and women. He doesn't think men and women should be equal. How about you? Do you agree with Harry? Tell us all about it in the comment below the show notes at www.englishmomentum.com/DL091. You need to be logged in to comment on blog posts, or you can also leave a comment on my Facebook page at facebook.com/EnglishMomentum. Remember, the vocabulary is available on Quizlet at englishmomentum.com/Quizlet. And for those who want to review the vocabulary and read the radio play transcript, the bonus PDF is now at www.englishmomentum.com. Log into English Momentum, go to this podcast episode, number 91, and you'll be able to download the bonus PDF. You could also be listening to Dramatic Listening on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand. You'll find a link to Stitcher in my show notes at englishmomentum.com. Well, folks, that's it for this episode. Hope you're enjoying the new story and that you'll be back for more when the story continues in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining me again this week. Bye for now.